does in a very horrible Robin Williams impression. I'm Nick Nitro, and welcome out to episode 317 of The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky. Before we get to our very, more than likely, spoiler-filled thoughts on Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Again, I repeat, it's me. I'm probably going to spoil the fucking shit out of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. So with that in mind, please remember that I'm going to spoil it. I don't know how else to say it. I will spoil it. If someone dies, I will tell you about it. If someone lives, I will tell you about it. If it leads right into... I don't know. I just want to let you know that I will spoil it because I want to talk about it. I'm going to talk. You can listen, I can talk. You can listen, I can talk. And I'll talk. Listen. Sorry about the music, man. But I digress. Like I do. Okay, with that being said... some things I just want to throw out there to you guys. Please check out our wonderful friends of the podcast and in some cases sponsors, packratcomics.com. You can go to packratcomics.com for their information, for their Facebook page where there are tons of great videos. And they have it on their Instagram page too, but Facebook for me, in my opinion, is where their stuff is really at. But if you want to follow them on Instagram, they do eventually make those videos on their way. But my favorite, as I always say it, and I do mean it, my favorite is the Wednesday New Comic Book Day videos. And I think they're still keeping this offer open as well, which is if you, yes, you want to do a video. Are you creative? Are you in the Columbus, Ohio area? Or maybe you don't, but you like comic books and you are creative and you want to shoot like a short video for New Comic Book Day for Pack Rat Comics, go ahead and email them and see what deets you might need to get to do that. And they're also doing a thing called What's Your Story? If you go to packratcomics.com, you can get more information, but you could win a gift certificate if you tell them, what's your story? How did you get into comic books? It's pretty rad. So again, packratcomics.com. Now, these guys throw us a little green our way, a little moolah, if you know what I'm saying, a little greenbacks. If you go ahead and sign up, that is audibletrial.com/goodbadgeeky. Now, Audible does audiobooks. Now, for those who listen to this podcast, know that podcasts and audiobooks are kind of the same thing, but one is just, it's the dramatic reading of a book, and the podcast, but they're the same kind of thing. It's almost like listening to a radio program of a book. It's pretty freaking rad, guys. I love it. I have finished and completed Girl on the Train. It was really good, and now I think I can see the movie. So I'm really excited. But you know how I did that? Because I have a membership with Audible. So if you want a sneak preview of what it is, it's a 30-day trial. audibletrial.com/goodbadgeeky. Not only do you get a free audiobook out of the whole thing for the for the 30-day free trial, you also get an awesome audiobook. And you know what? Say you don't want to keep the subscription going. Say, you know what? It's not enough. It's too much for you right now, but you want to go down the line later and subscribe to it. That's okay. You know why? Because you get to keep the audiobook. It's all yours. Any platform you want, you can move it around. It's yours. That's pretty darn sweet. Okay. Finally, check out Rocky and Bullwinkle, our Rocky and Bullwinkle podcast. It's I love this show. I love writing for it. I love doing it, and I love my cast. They go above and beyond. So, you know what? Support them by going to gbgpodcast.com, listening to episodes there, or going to gbgpresentspod.com, and you'll get all the info there. Or Google us, GBG Bullwinkle. Boom. All right, now, these next two kind of go hand in hand together, but it's very important throughout there. I did it last episode, and I didn't have anything in front of me, and I'm a dork, okay? So, but now I've switched that. My phone was away from where I was recording, and I had the mobile set up in D4K Studios. I wasn't at my computer on the board. So, being that I am now, that's right. Check out MadLab. Go to madlab.net for more information on how you can get more information on upcoming shows at MadLab, which is a great part of the Columbus, Ohio creative community. They're very great to our next friend of the podcast, but you can check them out. Some of the shows, matter of fact, I'm going to see it before it ends. Actually, by the time this posts, I've already seen it, and that is The Star, and it looks awesome, guys. And they have other shows just like this one, and the new Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, which is a classic retelling of the Baz Rankin with the Mad Lab cast and crew. It's going to be great. Jimmy's in it. Jerome Wetzel, he's going to be in it. So is Keith from It's All Been Done Radio Hour, and Woosley. He's in it as well. He plays Hermie. I'm really looking forward to it, you guys. And they have improv there and all types of stuff. And here's the other thing, too, about the Rudolph. Just throw it out there. It supports the Mid-Ohio Food Bank. So that in itself is pretty freaking rad. So for more information, go to madlab.net. Booyakasha. For those listening last episode, I'm sorry I didn't have that information. It was just one of those like, oh, hey, you know what? I should plug Mad Lab because they are awesome and they are amazing. And matter of fact, they kind of are because by default the new home of GBG Live, the permanent home of GBG Live, at least until It's All Been Done. I digress. But speaking of It's All Been Done Radio Hour. That's where they have their show at Mad Lab. Boo, yeah. And January, it's going to be a longer show. I think it's $7 per ticket, and it's going to be a blast. And I'm writing for It's All Been Done Radio Hour. I have a show coming up in March. I've written almost a good chunk of the episode. Find out what it is by coming to the live show. For more information, go to itsallbeendoneradiohour.com, or you can call and get tickets from Mad Lab for the show in advance. For more information, though, about everything I've just told you about, itsallbeendoneradiohour.com. Now, It's All Been Done RadioHour.com, or It's All Been Done Radio Hour, is actually the flagship, the mothership, if you will, of It's All Been Done Presents. They have a lot of great things like stories, written and audio-based, Dirty Story Night. They also have written stories. G.O.D. is my BFF. I think the Season 3 just ended, so check that out. And they have other things on there as well. I think we have another set of stories premiering in January. We have Today's the Day. We have The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky. We have Oscars Are My Super Bowl, and much more. So go ahead, check them out, iabdpresents.com. All right. So enough of that. Now for this episode. Now, The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky, I do want to just say we're going to talk about some thoughts on, before we really get into Star Wars, which will have, again, I want to stress this, people, we will have spoiler talk. Okay. The trailers in the last week or two for Spider-Man Homecoming and Guardians of the Galaxy 2 came out, and I was reminded, someone posted on there, on a Facebook Friends page, like, what do you think? Are you more excited for Guardians or Volume 2 or Spider-Man Homecoming? And the general consensus so far is that Guardians Volume 2 is really what everyone's really super excited about. And my response, though, on Spider-Man is, and I just want to talk about this because it's very important. So for those who haven't seen the trailer, though, before I get to the Spider-Man comments, the Guardians trailer, a good bulk of it, besides just really quick, typical action shots, not really giving us the plot of the movie, but there's a sequence where there's a battle going on, and Baby Groot and Rocket is teaching Baby Groot about a bomb, and it is the most hilariously adorable sequence you've ever seen. It's up there, and it hits all the right notes. It is fantastic. It is great, and to the point where I still watch it every other day or so. I pull it up on my phone, or I pull it up on my Mac or my wife's laptop. I just watch it. I watch it. I'll pull it up on YouTube, on my Roku. I just love that trailer. Now, with that being said, the Spider-Man trailer, see, for me, Rocket and Groot were the heart and soul of the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and they're what I'm looking forward to the most. Like, I love the whole group, but they stand out to me. And Spider-Man Homecoming, though, we've had a lot of Spider-Man films. We had a reboot already, for God's sake. But I would love to. You know what? If you're listening out there, Oscars Are My Super Bowl. Let's talk Spider-Man. I want to do a Spider-Man episode with you. I think that would be fantastic. So, because Spider-Man 2 to me is still, from start to finish, it is a good example of a superhero film that kind of breaks what you're expecting from it. Again, you have to consider the first one and other films at the point too. So, like, but let me put it this way: if there was a dance sequence in Captain America, that would be weird to me. But they made it kind of work, or a musical sequence that, like how they did in Spider-Man 2, is an example of something that just worked. And again, at the end of the day, for any faults that the entire Raimi Spider-Man films have, Spider-Man 2, like, it's rooted in the heart of Peter Parker, and it's about Peter. Like, Spider-Man is in there, but as Spider-Man, he's not in there much. Now, with that said, as I said, there are Raimi Spider films have problems, and some of it's just creative choices they made. And that was marred or made it more difficult. At least I'm making the assumption on a studio executive decision to allow them to continue with, such as the first film opens up with narration. Now, for those who read Spider-Man comic books know that, or even the cartoon show, Spidey narrates all the time. He talks to himself, or the workaround of narration is he talks to himself out loud, and also he quips and does little quotes and all that stuff. But when you open the film up with narration, then you have this problem of, well, it's hard to tell probably when our Spider-Man is talking, or he talked to himself. You know, as I'm saying, you have to make a decision. So do you have him narrate at the opening, which does kind of set the tone for what you're about ready to watch? Which, I mean, at the end of the day, is still, is it the best superhero movie, the set of superhero movies ever, the original Raimi Spider-Man films? No, but it set the bar high. And then the Marvel films said it here, okay. But no, they did. You know, at that point, superhero films were not great. It was like video game movies, you know. That's what you're expecting. And X-Men and Spider-Man raised the bar. And then Spider-Man 2 raised the bar even higher. And, but they have a lot of problems in those movies. And, you know, say what you will, but Peter Parker is a nerd. He's a dork. And they kind of played up more Tobey Maguire as the classical 50s nerd version of Peter, even though I know Spider-Man came out in the 60s, but he had the mentality of a nerd from the 50s, what you expect, you know, pocket protector and all that. And Tobey Maguire does kind of imbibe that, you know, imbibed. I think I'm saying that right. But he encases that at the core of his being. I mean, that's why Pleasantville, for example, he's perfect for that movie. He's good in roles like that, in roles which, I mean, he's good in roles where he plays characters that seem to be based in the past. And that doesn't mean that he's not a very current guy, but with other roles, I've seen other roles where it takes place in the present, and he's phenomenal. Like The Ice Storm is one of those, really good movie. Wonder Boys as well, but he imbibes an old soul mentality. And that's what you get with Peter Parker. And in the Raimi Spider-Man films, they capture Peter Parker perfectly. In Spider-Man, they had to make a decision, which is we can't have him quipping and quoing too much. Because for Spider-Man, that's part of his weapon, if you will. It's a shield. Because, like, when you're a nerd, I was a nerd in high school to the point where I was like a popular nerd. But there are times where, you know, and not only that, I was the fat one. I was a fat musical nerd, right? I didn't do sports. Well, I liked basketball, but still, no one would ever put me on a basketball team unless it was like the local youth athletics association kind of one. But which we did really good at, by the way. I think my team won, 2 years in a row or something. But anyway, the idea behind it, though, is that Peter, that Tobey Maguire played as, was really kind of based in that, you know what I mean? Like that mentality of, and that to me is what Peter Parker is, which is, I want to be the guy that, I want to be like the jock who can just be kind of, you know, sarcastic all the time and just be rude to other people, just verbally. But the difference is that he takes the great power, great responsibility thing and uses it for good. So he uses that against the villains. I mean, he doesn't do it against innocent bystanders. But like I remember, Bendis did it best. He encapsulated, I think, a bunch of issues of the original Amazing Spider-Man and Ultimate Spider-Man, where he got the Kingpin so frustrated because he was doing "you're so fat" jokes. And so not only is it because everyone who knows Friends, Chandler does his little jokes as a defense mechanism, like all nerds do. They have a little defense mechanism. Some of them are a little different, but usually it's that self-deprecating manner. And Spider-Man has that. Or Peter has that, but he's more book shy. He's very, very shy, very book smart and head smart, but he's not confident. When he puts the mask on, confidence just grows. And Tobey Maguire, that was lacking the Tobey Maguire version a little bit. And the way that the Raimi films work, it builds up over that to Spider-Man 3, which then just loses all goodwill and faith adorned from there. But the newer films, the Amazing Spider-Man films, it's the opposite problem. Spider-Man is exactly how you inspired him and see him being. But then when he takes off the mask, he's kind of mopey. Like he's like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 3 Peter Parker, which that's not a good Peter Parker really to have. And it's depressing. So when Tom Holland shows up in Captain America Civil War, he does steal the show. He's one of the best parts of the movie. And he builds on that emotional level that's already there when you're rooting for Captain or Tony, you're Steve or Tony, you know. But I remember I watched the trailer for Spider-Man Homecoming, and I think it's just because of all the other Spider-Man films that's come before in a very short time period, I was very trepidatious and just kind of sitting on the edge of my seat and just going, that looks cool. That looks cool. Oh, an international trailer, let me watch that. That looks cool. I'm excited. But if you know, Guardians of the Galaxy is like, oh my god, that is so cool. I love this part. I love this part. The Spider-Man one is just like, that's kind of neat, but it's very, you know, I'm hesitant to just be super excited about Spider-Man Homecoming, even though I am. It's kind of like, it's funny ho-ho or funny ha-ha, right? And right now, if it was a comedy album or show or whatever, Spider-Man Homecoming is funny ho-ho, and Guardians of the Galaxy is funny ha-ha. But with that said, I am excited for both films, but right now Guardians does have my level amped up a little bit more than Spider-Man. Right now it's just almost like, please Marvel, don't fuck it up. You have Spider-Man back for however long you can have him for. You know, please don't fuck this up, right? You know, that's what it feels like. So I think that's the other part of me that feels like a little nervous, and I don't think I'm saying trepidatious correctly, so I'm afraid to just keep using that word. I'm very trepidatious about it. See, I don't think I'm using it right, so I'm going to stop. If anything, there's your humor for the day. Nick can't say words well, or sentences apparently either. Okay, enough of that. Let us dive, and go into Rogue One, a Star Wars story. Again, starting right now, there is no turning back. Spoilers. So, spoiler alert, everyone dies. Well, I'm kind of kidding, kind of not. Here's where the real spoilers start now. Okay, so Rogue One, a Star Wars story, takes place. So here's where the spoilers. It literally takes place. It leads right into Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, and no one gets out alive. Not any of our leads. And, you know, it's probably the most brutal in terms of what they show. Things are still Star Wars, so it's still done, you know, rather... it's still done rather well in terms of how they handle the deaths, which, you know, it could be a little hard for those who are young, but at the same time it's tasteful enough, just like the original movies, where it's not as violent as it could be, especially in today's climate. But the real question is, did I like the movie? And it's hard to say. You know, the movie, like, I knew going in that almost everyone was probably going to die. I didn't think everyone was going to die, but there's a good, you know, there's a good possibility that, you know, this is a, you know, no man out situation. And I knew that going in, but I was still, you know, you're still in the back of your mind hoping, okay, they're going to get out, but they don't. You know, my favorite characters overall were Baze Malbus, Chirrut, played by Donnie Yen, and Wen Jiang. I'm hoping I'm saying their names right. And, of course, Kei Tuso, which is played by Alan Tudyk. The weakest characters, surprisingly, are Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor, which are kind of the two leads. There are times where in the film it feels like there's a romantic plot going on, and other times there's not a romantic plot going on, and then when they die together, as the planet blows up, you're just kind of like, wait. There are some, I mean, like, there's moments where it's like, are they going to kiss? Because it feels very unearned. You know, and then they have that final moment where they just hug each other as the world ends. And some of it's just very beautiful imagery, very, very beautifully shot. I think the script is where the film falls short a little bit, and I don't know. It's a great, like, mini side story that leads into episode 4. It really is, and it's phenomenal. I really enjoyed that movie. I don't love it like I do like episode 4, 5, or 6, you know, but it does add something to it, and it truly shows how good and bad the rebellion is, which I think that's another important part too, is that both sides are not as clean cut as well, we know the Empire is not. Empire is the epitome of evil, just because of the figurehead, the Emperor. They are literally kind of like the Nazis, you know. But the rebels are also kind of doing cold, heartless stuff too. I would say overall the biggest problem with the film is that the characters don't feel well developed, and it also feels like a bunch of stuff is just cut out. And whether it be from Jin or Cassian, or I think the only two characters, the only character that really stands out to me of having some decent semblance of well-handled character development is K2SO, or K2SO, just because he, you know, there is a semblance of that he wants to. It's very weird. So the general idea is that he, played by Alan Tudyk, who does a phenomenal job, by the way, is K2SO is a droid that was programmed. He's an Imperial bot, was reprogrammed, and since then Cassian has given him a bit of a personality, but he doesn't trust him enough to give him a gun. And there is this kind of like bitter, backbiting sense from the robot, which of course Alan Tudyk plays wonderfully, that, you know, that he, you know, he wants that. It's like the final bit of fitting in, and you know. And even though the final mission, which is to get the Death Star plans, does feel kind of shoehorned in terms of how they go there and do it, it's still really like when he's the first of our leads to die. It's really kind of, oh wow, man! Like I started to tear up a little bit, because out of all the characters, he was, you know, the one I felt like. Now, granted, you could say that about any comedic character that makes you laugh. The moment they get hurt or they start to die, you start going like, oh no, like you can start feeling it. And Donnie Yen's Chirrut, I hope I'm saying that right, is kind of in the same wheelhouse. He's Force sensitive. He's not actually a Jedi, but he believes in the Force. He's a strong. He's almost like the altar boy that grew up and realized, oh shit, the Force, or, you know, Mother Mary, save me. That kind of thing. He's very faithful to that, and that's really, really freaking rad. The final sequence after he dies with Wen Jing's Baze Malbus is quite touching and quite beautiful, and you really wish that things could have got a little bit further. So. Let's just go through all the characters just real quick, because I feel like I'm kind of jumping all over the place, and I apologize. So, Jyn Erso is kind of our ultimate lead. She's played by Felicity Jones, and she's sad and mad because her daddy left her, and she's been kind of on the run ever since, trying to hide out because the Empire's kind of looking for her too. And she kind of. Well, I'll get to her, hopefully, if I can remember to get to her. But, well, no, I'll talk about it now. Her character does a complete 180. Like, they do little stuff where she saves a child, because we know her to be good. It's just she's a thief, but we don't really get to see her in action. We don't get to really see her. Not really. The movie opens up with her her mom getting killed, and her dad deciding to work for the Empire, and then she goes into hiding, and then Forrest Whitaker's Saw Gerrera finds her. For those who don't know, and I remember him very lightly from Clone Wars, Saw Gerrera is a character that was introduced there. He's kind of an extremist, like even on there, if I remember correctly, he's kind of outside the box thinking, but yeah. But so she was raised by him, and he became kind of like a, like a minor father figure, but also like he abandoned her for the cause. To the point where he became more extreme like that. The Rebel Alliance just kind of dropped him. He's like now an officially hardcore extremist. It's like the Empire doesn't want him and the Rebellion doesn't want him. But yeah. So there's Diego Luna, who is way more of a shady guy than Han Solo. And what I mean by that is on a mission, he gladly accepts the mission to kill people. He's one of those characters you could always sit there and say, oh, I don't want him to suffer, and then because this character's trapped. It's actually his first scene in the movie. It clearly sets up who you're dealing with, kind of thing, which is also kind of depressing too. You know what I mean? The Empire is aware of their presence because they look suspicious, and the one guy's like, I'm going to miss my flight. The Empire's they're gonna torture me. They're gonna do this. They're gonna do that. And he's like, I can't climb out of here, and the only way out of here is up, and I can't climb with my arm. What are we going to do? You've killed me. And then he goes, look, I'll take care of you. Don't worry. We'll find a way out of this. And as the guy turns around, he kind of like Lenny's him, as of mice and men him, I guess you would say, where he kind of just shoots him in the back, killing him. And granted, he puts him out of his misery, but it's still like, oh, geez. Okay. But they feel like it's time that's the rebellion, though, even though they separated themselves from Saw Gerrera, they feel like he's the key in leading. They need him and his men to join the Rebel Alliance because they're hitting the Empire where it hurts, but they need to be part of the overall arc or whatever. And that's really what the movie starts off at being, but. At the same time, there is someone there who is defecting, and he delivers a message from Mad Mikkelsen's, I hope I'm saying that right, I'm probably not, for Galen Erso, Jin's father, who we realize he was a rebel through and through. He realized that the biggest thing is that make them think, because they really didn't need him to do the Death Star, to keep it moving and keep it working and getting it built 100%. But he made himself invaluable. He made himself the guy to keep it going with the Empire. And to the point where he purposely built in a flaw in the Death Star, and one that is, they'll overlook. And if this one little thing goes down, the whole place will go down with it. And, that's pretty cool. And that part, again, is actually kind of well done and well handled, but just the built-up relationship between Jin and her father, and when her father dies, she just kind of realized, that's the moment where she's just like, of course, and it didn't really feel earned per se. There was no real moments where, oh, hey, cool, this is what... and that was kind of a bit of a bummer because she kind of does this complete 180 and gives this really rousing speech, but I just kind of don't believe her. So when they all go into that final mission, you're like, okay. And Donnie Yen's character, Chirrut, he is... by the way, if I'm saying this wrong, you're just going to have to deal with it. I know I keep saying that, but it bothers me if I'm not saying it right. But I'm going to have to just accept the fact that I'm probably saying it wrong. But in case I'm not, great. If I am, I'm sorry. I'm going to keep doing it. But Donnie Yen's character, he is a Force-sensitive man who believes in the Force. Matter of fact, he keeps repeating to himself even, like, I believe in the Force. The Force is strong. The Force is all around me. I believe in the Force. The Force is all around. He says something along those lines. To the point, his friend Baze Malbus, played by Wen Jiang, is just kind of like, oh, he's a character, you know. But there's no such thing as the Force, and you know, they're both kind of comic relief a little bit, but the big thing too is Donnie his character is blind, and so there's more than a few times where he just keeps saying, he's like, I believe in the Force is all around me, I believe in the Force is all around me, as he walks forward in massive gunfire and is able to turn on this switch that helps, you know, it's like one of the major puzzle pieces to get things going. Some of the characters die pretty not great. I mean, none of them are great deaths, but it's just over. That's how war is sometimes, you know. I kind of wish that we had more time with some of the characters. The introduction for Jin was not as, I'm not going to lie, to me it wasn't as appealing. I feel we didn't really get a sense of her, like, maybe see how good she is at doing certain things. We see Cassian a little bit, and I know things are pressed for time, but I'd rather have almost a 3-hour movie than a 2.5-hour one. You know what I mean? I'd rather have those little moments. Same thing with Baze Malbus's character. When his friend Sharut dies in battle, gets blown up. He's like, no, don't you leave me. Sharut's response is, you will always find me if you find the Force. If you find the Force, I will always be there. Always, or something like that. And you're just like, oh. I mean, because you are, I mean, again, I'm more invested in the side characters than I am the leads, and so he does his last little, oh, fuck this shit, I'm gonna fucking take the Empire down. Like, you know, it's a suicide, like, it's even more of a suicide mission at this point. He turns around, and he gets kind of farther than you're expecting, considering there are dudes still coming at him and actually hitting him. And he's saying the same thing that Sharut would say, like, the Force is all around me, I believe in the Force. The Force is all around me, I believe in the Force, or whatever like that. And but still, he doesn't get that much farther, which is kind of depressing. You just kind of wish that some of those characters, like, or there was something more there to kind of set that up, you know. And I guess that's the heartbreaking thing. I wanted to cry at all those characters. The only two characters I kind of teared up for was K2SO and Sharut. But it was more for K2SO for some reason. Because I think he was more comic relief. So when he did go, it was just like, oh, that's heartbreaking. You don't kill the comic relief guy. But again, I knew going in this was all, like, they were all going to die. Or I had a good idea they were all going to die. But yeah, I really did enjoy the movie. Darth Vader is amazing. Grand Moff Tarkin is amazing, considering what they did with technology, even though he's completely CGI. There is some uncanny valley shit going on, but, you know, considering, it's really awesome. And you see it enough that you start to get used to it, and it doesn't bother you. It's always a little jarring when you first see him. Then after that, it doesn't matter. And Princess Leia, because it goes right into Episode 4... that's a little weird, because you only see that one scene of her, and you're just like, okay, that looks really uncanny valley kind of shit, man. But no, it was a good movie. Again, very tone of Empire, because again, everyone dies, even though it has a mildly happy ending in terms of they get the Death Star plans. But you knew that going in, so it's really just more about how do these characters live their lives, how do they die, and what do they die for. Like, what are their causes and all that. And I guess that's the other thing, too, is that half these bands of people just kind of oops, come together kind of thing. And there, again, nothing wrong with that, but I just felt like you kind of wish there was a better reason on how they came together, per se, or that it made more sense on why they decided to stay together. You know, we get a sense that Donnie Yen's Sharut character, anywhere he goes, Baze Malbus follows. And of course he backs Jen up, like, you know, I believe her or whatever. But like, what more connection is there besides, oh, hey, you have a crystal on your neck, which is, those crystals power lightsabers, and I'm a big Jedi Force fan, so but that's me trying to put the pieces together. That's not exactly 100% explicit, like, oh, that's why he kind of looks after her or whatever. Because the way they meet is in this village marketplace, and even though he's blind, he's force sensitive enough he can sense the crystal on her. And he even says, "Oh, that's a crystal. It's lightsabers do. People who are force sensitive can just pick up on it." And so when the battle eventually breaks out, he comes to her aid, and that's cool because obviously he must be a good dude. But like that's the connection. That's it. You know what I mean? So there's, and again, it probably feels like something got cut out. This film did have massive reshoots. And not that there's anything wrong with that, because it ended up being an entertaining movie. But yeah, now in Vader, I will say, I think people blow out the last final Vader moment of the movie. It is freaking cool. It's just that when people I've heard online or in person talked it up to me so damn much that I was expecting him to do almost like, which is not a good thing, by the way, episode 1 through 3 fight scene shit, which you don't really want. I prefer, within reason at least, some of the battles to be very, very smooth katana blade fighting movement, not like it's supposed to be heavy. Like it looks light, but it's supposed to be heavy, like a broadsword. I enjoy, like, that was kind of the intention. Of course, then Lucas changed and it's like, oh, they're light as a feather and they can wing it around like a waya, like ninjutsu, which you're not. I'm sorry, I was incorrect. I said it was like a ninja sword earlier. That's not what I meant. They treat it like it's a ninja sword, but I feel like they should treat it like it's a broadsword, which is like Excalibur kind of thing. And in episodes 1 through 3, they treated it like it was a katana blade, and it needs to be not treated that way. I feel like. I mean, yes, it's cool sequences and all that, but so when Vader, does some shit at the end of the movie, it is pretty badass, and it's truly, truly terrifying. But I've heard it built up, I guess, from a little bit people. Again, and spoiler-free reviews. And it's hard to really describe here what Vader does. Like, he just takes out... He's kind of like a monster in a monster movie. He just keeps coming at you slowly but surely, eating away and killing all your men. It's terrifying in that regard, and it's handled wonderfully. But I think I just heard so much, like, everyone will love the Vader scene at the end. He's ruthless and cold, and it's just amazingly badass what he does. Like, he just kills a bunch of men in a rather cool way, and that's it. So please don't go in watching Star Wars Rogue One if you've gotten this far, going like, oh, hey, he's gonna rip a ship off, or like, that was kind of the vibe I was getting. Like, he was just gonna tear a ship apart and do all this and that, and like they do in the video games and the cartoon, where it's a little more exaggerated than it should be. And I was just like, oh no. But so that was a little bit of a letdown. I let what other reviews said get to me a little bit, but I did enjoy the movie. I think it's worth watching, at least in IMAX 3D once. I'll probably see this again because of my dad. He'll probably want to see the movie. But outside of that, I'm not like, running out the door to go see it again. I didn't love it. I enjoyed it. The film definitely has some problems, but it's worth a $15 price tag in the theater for right now. Again, IMAX 3D only. If you're paying $15 in your area and there's no IMAX 3D, shut the front door. And go for a walk instead. Something. Just don't go pay that much for a non-3D IMAX version of it. But if it is that, please go see it. Check it out. Now, what were your thoughts on it? Again, I enjoyed the movie a good deal. I wonder if I will enjoy it way more the second time I see it. And I might talk about that maybe not. But let us know. goodbadgeeky@gmail.com. Or tweet me at goodbadgeeky. Mm-hmm. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. I believe, as I'm off the top of my head, I believe next week is our Christmas show, next Friday. Thank you all so much this week for being patient with me. I know I was really behind, and I apologize for that. But I took care. I hope this week you've gotten caught up. And I will say the week after Christmas and the week after New Year we are going on a break. We are officially on a break, and we will be back soon after. Matter of fact, in those 2 weeks, I will be off and on recording stuff. So thank you all very much for listening, and until next week, hope your holidays continue to go well. Because then next week I'll say Merry Christmas and all that. All right, I'm done. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Get out of here without cheese! You're a creep! Go away! We're having a good time until you showed up, cheapers! Go have some coffee with cream or something! Because I'll tell you something! This is a happy place!